An important part of the work of data scientists is to try to explain what they see in their data. What is causing the effects that were observed? If they recommend a course of action, what might the results be? Questions about cause and effect arise frequently. Here, for example, is a recent headline from The Guardian UK. It links coffee drinking to a range of health benefits. Here's another headline. This one appears to make a stronger claim. It is saying that chocolate is good for you. How do we make sense of such claims? How do we carry out such analyses by ourselves? In order to do so, we have to observe carefully. Here is some terminology that we will be using throughout this course. You observe individuals, and you can call them study subjects or participants or units. In the case of the chocolate study, the individuals were European adults. Of course, individuals don't have to be people, they could be cars or countries. An individual receives a treatment. In the case of the chocolate study, it was a very nice treatment. It was chocolate consumption. You can think of treatment as being a medical treatment if you wish, but it doesn't have to be. It could be, for example, simply the person residing in the United States. And then we observe an outcome. In the case of the chocolate study, it was a measure of heart disease. One question of interest is about the relation between chocolate consumption and heart disease. Is there any relation at all? The formal word for relation is association. That just means any relation. It is what the Guardian headline was calling a link. To answer this question, we need some data. Here are the data on the chocolate study. There were several tiers of chocolate consumption. The top tier consisted of those who were eating roughly the equivalent of one Hershey bar a day. The data say that among the top tier, 12% developed or died of cardiovascular disease, compared to 17.4% in the bottom tier, those who didn't eat any chocolate at all. Is there an association? I think there is. 17.4% is larger than 12. Set aside for now detailed questions as to whether it is quite large enough by some criterion or what the reasons are for the difference. There appears to be a relation between chocolate consumption and heart disease, at least in my opinion. A question of greater interest, perhaps, is does eating chocolate cause a reduction in heart disease? Questions of causality are often more complex to answer. In fact, in the case of the chocolate study, causality wasn't established. They saw a link, but establishing causality takes more work. In the next section, we'll discuss a historical example in which a scientist established association and then worked to establish causation.